We are finished with the first introduction, chapter 1. Now we move on to the chapter on the rationale for strategy. Right? In other words, to discuss why is there a need for this strategic approach, and really what is this strategic approach entails. Now the important thing to realize is that, like in China, the key points are very important. Those timeless truths are very important. When environment changes, things will change, yes, but there are certain fundamental truth that remains despite time, the coming of time. And it is important not to just do things that are fashionable, but to do things that understand the fundamentals of management and our strategy. And therefore you ask, one of the things that we did in my research was really to talk about, to survey and to find out who set goals. And surprisingly, it's not the board of directors who set goals. Within the ASEAN top companies, the CEOs set goals. Therefore, the CEO actually set the directions, and I think it remains the same across time. The leader is the person who will set the direction, set the goals, and set the objectives and how they are to be achieved. This is something which came out very strongly in the research across ASEAN companies, the top companies. Then of course we asked the question, what is the top goal of companies? What CEOs set the goals, alright? And then from the survey that we did, what were the key top most important goals within ASEAN, even back then? During the time we do the survey, even more important now. Now quality has become a matter of survival. You don't have quality, you just simply cannot compete, or you will face out in competition. And one of the top goal of companies in ASEAN was really quality, and quality is a very important measure and goal focused upon by companies. Now, as I said to you, right, this is we're going to look at what are the fundamentals, what are the timeless truth. So this is one thing we have to emphasize. And another goal of the company, right, another top goal of the company is return on assets. And this is to be expected. Why? Because these are listed companies. And since these are listed companies, you would expect them to emphasize financial goals. And they use measures like return on assets emerges as one of the top goals for the company. And another way of putting on return to asset is return on investment, ROI. And the assets being the amount that is invested. And one thing I like to introduce here, of course, is that you'll find that it'll be interesting to do a study and then see whether is there a difference between the expected ROI and the ROI that's actually been achieved. In other words, the gap between expectation and achievement. This would be interesting to do, right? What would investors normally expect, and what is actually achieved, and we find whether there are differences across the world. And one of the key things I like to ask during this period of time really is, about what sort of ROI would people would a shareholder expect a company to achieve in this COVID-19? It would definitely be lower, but how low would it be low? What is the expectation of shareholders in this environment? And the other question which came out from the survey, very interestingly, we asked the question of what is the top industry, relative industry competitive measure among these top ASEAN companies. What was the thing that made them really very competitive? What emerged as number one? And not surprisingly, they grew because of product range. And that's very logical. If you have too narrow product range, and you cannot tap. The whole idea of strategy of ASEAN Corporation was then to really tap the customer base and then expand on the range of the product. And that may reflect the economy at that period of time, but then really, logically, right, once you establish a database of campus customers, you want to tap on that. And therefore, the only way to do that is to really to extend the product range, slowly increasing related products for your customers. Now, and another thing which is very interesting is we know about SWOT, right? Strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threat. And of course, what we wanted to find out was, right, in strategy formulation, right, what was the thing that emerged, right, as the top insight into SWOT through the strategy process? What do companies learn most through the strategic planning process? What do you think? Make a guess. What do you think? Companies will learn a lot more through strategic planning, and you'll not be surprised, right? It is not really opportunity or threat, but it's really weaknesses, number one, and strength. So strategic planning process in the first case will be to identify what are your weaknesses vis-a-vis competition, and then from there correlatively what are the strengths. So it is very much beginning in strategic planning as an internal process, and this is what research has found out. And of course you find, right, that how do strategic planning helps company, what is most effective, what measure is most effective in coping with environmental changes, what aspect of it that strategic planning really help companies to gather insights to. And the finding was that in competition, that strategic planning actually help companies to better cope with the changes in the competitive scenario. And of course you find, right, that actually Singapore, right, under Lee Kuan Yew at that time, right, is the best example of coping with environmental changes. We have been very effective, and because we are small, we are mobile, it's much easier for us and nimble, right, to move and adapt to changes. And of course you'll find that right, because of all the effort by Lee Kuan Yew in the past to ensure that Singapore adapt to the changes, that we happen to be now the leading country in the world. And you find that when you remain steady state, and I'm afraid USA has been too long in steady state, that they are not effective in coping with environmental changes, and they're lacking behind in competition now. Right, what is the top organizational benefit, right, of strategic planning process? What is it? What do you think? And quite interestingly is that strategic planning give a sense of purpose to the organization, and it also give a sense of direction where you should be heading to. And the best example I can tell you, and it's so solid the evidence, is that we should have a 5-year plan. China operates on a 5-year plan. Every 5 years they will formulate a new direction, set the goal, set KPI. Everybody, the whole country is measured by that, and it is very much a goal-driven, and is very much, in other words, everybody knows direction, right? And through my 10 years in China, I really, there were two phases of the 5-year plan. Right, I was in Beijing, right, and then they were talking about Sparta. Sparta is a code word for the plan that was come out in the 18th Congress, and they formulate all this plan. And you ask success of China, right? As I said to you, if you analyze it properly, you find that it's very much consistent with what Sun Tzu says. Sun Tzu put a lot of emphasis on planning, that you should plan, and once you plan, you set the purpose, and you know the purpose, and you know the direction, and that's where what strategic planning is all about, really. Next, we come to what does the survey find out about this, the problem? What the company face, the really difficult part of strategic planning. What is the top problem of strategic planning? And it is the fact that environment is too unpredictable. The moment the environment becomes too unpredictable, you have a problem. Right now, the most recent example, of course, is this Korean case, North Korea, and about it's so unpredictable. You cannot predict whether Kim was alive or not for the last 20 days. And so when environment becomes too unpredictable, you will find that it is difficult to do long-term plan. Right, so I've covered, right, the key points, I believe the fundamental point that emerged from research that highly validate Sun Tzu. And I think if you want to look at Sun Tzu from a commercial, from management organization, these are the factors that, right, are consistently and it's still the same, right? Despite all the years that have passed between the period data is collected and current period. Now, as part of the online learning process, I have a home assignment for you. And this home assignment is quite simple and really, right, I want to introduce another idea to you. Right? And of course, I do research on artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence really is about interconnectivity. The world is actually very much interconnected. Right? We operationalize that in the research to correlational measure. And what do? Right? You can actually use the book Organising Strategy as a huge manual for understanding organization by interpreting on your own the correlations or the interconnections that emerge. Right now, the one that I'm going to ask you to do, and which I will show you in a video, right? You find that it is about what happened when what causes too much rivalry in companies. You know, when they plan, you know, and they develop, and you know, right, it's not easy to get a group of people to agree. And if they don't agree, right, and behind the back, and they have a lot of rivalry and this argument, right, especially the European, it is very much expected. But then once you agree to a plan, you should all forget about it and execute according to the plan, whatever your earlier thinking is. So once you formulate a plan, but that is only in a company that is well managed and well integrated, and everybody share the same goals, and there is friendship, there's bonding. But then you find, right, that one of the problem, right, that emerges, right, from strategic planning process is that sometimes it's very difficult to do planning because there's too much rivalry, and you are asked in a home assignment, right, to explain what causes it, what are the interconnected with generating too much rivalry. And one of the key problems that emerges from the research, and it is so intuitively valid, is that when there are too frequent revisions to plan, right? Now, I used to work for a German company, right, Klockner Industry on Laden, and you find that the Germans, when they set a plan, they'll stick to it, and they do not deviate from the plan, right? They are fantastic planners in the sense that once they set a plan, they will go all the way to achieve the plan. And of course, there's a lot of crosswinds in that sort of thinking. And of course, you'll find that if there's too much paperwork, also it creates rivalry, and especially when the environment is too unpredictable, right? So I leave it to you, all right, to look at this correlation, this is set table, and then the diagram, and then to do it as homework assignment for you, right? This is the first lecture focused on the results, the insights from organizing strategy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.